Hey everyone, welcome to the channel where we talk about all things movies. Welcome especially if you're new. If you love to talk about movies just like me, and you're looking for reviews on movies as they come out, be sure to hit the subscribe button. I see about 2 or 3 movies a week, and I put up reviews for all of them. So, yeah, and if you've been to the channel before, welcome back. Hope you're having a great week. I just got back from seeing Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore at the theater, so we're here to talk about it. So in this movie, Albus Dumbledore assigns Newt and his allies a mission related to the rising power of Grindelwald. So my anticipation level going into this movie has been kind of a mixed bag. So Harry Potter is one of my favorite franchises. It's up there with MCU and Lord of the Rings as far as being like top three franchises for me. Definitely grew up on Harry Potter. I've seen all the movies, read all the books. Well, at least read or listened to them on audiobook multiple times, and yeah, definitely a big fan. So being a fan of Harry Potter, definitely excited whenever we get any more from this franchise. But the Fantastic Beasts haven't quite been on the same level as the Harry Potters as far as the movies go. I thought the first one was probably the best of the two so far, but the second one, while I liked it, it was, yeah, I think it's definitely the weakest of the film franchise as a whole. So I was hesitant to get my hopes up, but I was also hopeful that maybe this movie would be the one in the series that kind of takes it to the next level. But I think I saw that on Rotten Tomatoes is at like 59%. I've seen, some thumbnails. I haven't watched others' reviews, but I've seen I think what I'm assuming is positive reactions from some people on YouTube, but it's hard to tell just from a thumbnail. So that got me kind of hopeful, but I've been kind of keeping it in check. And yeah, so that's kind of where I was at going into this movie. So let's talk about it now that I've seen it. What are my thoughts? And so usually I divide up a review between, what I liked about a movie and what I didn't. This one I'm going to do just a bit differently. I'm going to talk about the movie kind of generally and then go through the different characters and just kind of, share my thoughts on them. So overall, I think there's a lot of good in this movie, like especially technically speaking. Like I think David Yates does a really good job directing this film. The cinematography is well done. It's nice to see kind of the scope of the story take place over many different parts of the world. So getting to see different locations and that sort of thing is really nice to see in the movie. Also, I think just the design of the magical world, as it's been throughout all the Harry Potter movies and the Wizarding World movies, is just really creative and really well done to see this world realized on screen. They continue to introduce, some cool things, and like a lot of times they're just like little things that don't even like get explained. Like Dumbledore has what I assume is like a little like pocket watch that just looks like a magic pocket watch, but isn't one that we've seen before. But they don't really talk about it. You just see him using it. So things like that I think are done really well. They've been that way throughout the entire series, and yeah, continue to be that way. The music as well is really good. James Newton Howard, composing for the third time for the Fantastic Beasts films, continues to do a great job. And then all around, I'd say the acting was pretty good. So yeah, a lot of stuff technically that was good, well done for the film. Now, I think what's lacking a little bit for this film is the story and the characters. I think there are parts to the story that are interesting, but at the end of the day, I don't like this chapter of the story isn't the most compelling. Like coming out of the film, there was nothing that I felt the need to talk about with somebody. Like, oh, did you go see it for like this, and this happened, and like that sort of thing. Like, I didn't really get that coming out of the film. The last movie that I kind of felt that way, where I was hoping it'd be really good, or like I have the hope because I like the series, but reining expectations in. This kind of reminds me a bit of Black Widow, where like that was an enjoyable film, but like coming out of it, there was nothing that, like, it was hard to talk too much to the film or like feel the need to see like who else I knew that had seen it and talk to them about it. So I think there's just less of that in this film. And then when it comes to the characters, I think there's just I'm like, yeah, I'm just trying to analyze like what is it about the Fantastic Beast movies that aren't quite doing it that maybe the Harry Potter movies, like why are the Harry Potter movies like a lot better in my mind? And maybe it's because I grew up on those and like they were more fresh at the time, whereas now we're on the 11th movie in the Wizarding world. But I think the main one is, well, part of it is I think story-wise, the Harry Potter movies typically had like a mystery that was a big focus of the story in a given movie. So each of them, like each of the movies had their own mystery, whether it's like who's opening the Chamber of Secrets or who put Harry's name in the Goblet of Fire, things like that, where you kind of get clues or it's like followed up on and you're kind of left thinking about it and can maybe guess as to what the mystery is by the end of the film. And I think that kind of drives things forward a bit. This movie doesn't really have that. I think the second Fantastic Beasts, The Crimes of Grindelwald, that did. It focused a lot on who is Credence and wrapping in like Lita's backstory and everything with that. I thought that created good mystery. This one doesn't really. I think the mystery, if you're gonna say there is a mystery at all, is like resolving the revelation at the end of the last film that Credence is actually a Dumbledore, and like the mystery is like how can that be? Like give me the answer, but it's not one that we're really left clues for or left to kind of find out. So that element isn't really a focus of the story. So I think that's maybe why these don't work as well, or like this film didn't work as well. I think also it comes down to, I think the Harry Potters just had a really good core with the three main characters between Harry, Ron, and Hermione. Like I think those were characters that we saw in every single film, and yeah, I mean, for somebody like me, we grew up with these characters and that sort of thing. So I think there's a bigger attachment to the characters and a much larger connection. Whereas in these films, they kind of have like a revolving door of who is in the story and who the main characters are. Obviously, we still have Newt, and Newt, I think, like, I can kind of relate to Newt, like his quirkiness and not being super sociable and that sort of thing. Like, of the characters, I could probably relate to him the most. But at the end of the day, his character isn't really going through any sort of growth throughout the film. So that that prevents us from connecting with him all that much, in my opinion. And then, but like, I mean, it's still the same old Newt. I think he is an interesting enough character, but yeah, I think the lack of character development in this movie kind of limits your connection to him as a character. I do think Dumbledore is interesting. It's nice to kind of get some more backstory on him, and I think he's played very well by Jude Law. But I don't know. There again, I think a lot of what we see has already been like hinted at and theorized based off of what's been written in, especially the seventh book. So it's nice to see it kind of visualized and given with a few more details, but there isn't like a whole lot of like brand new stuff to like gauge my interest. So I mean that's part of the problem maybe with doing a prequel, but yeah. And then Grindelwald I thought was, so I had mixed feelings coming into this. I liked Johnny Depp quite a bit in this role, so I was disappointed that he was asked to step aside and that he did, because I was like, I knew I'd miss him in this role because I liked him a lot in the second film. Nothing against Mads Mikkelsen, whom they got to replace him. That was just kind of my disposition coming into this, was knowing that I'd probably not like him as much as Johnny Depp anyway, based off of how much I liked Johnny Depp in the role. And I'd say it came in actually, I think Mads Mikkelsen played the character better than I thought he would. I think just Mads plays a lot of villain, so he can come across as very, very villainous. And what I liked especially about Johnny Depp and his take on the character is he doesn't really necessarily come across as a villain. Like, you don't just see him and think villain. You kind of have to get to know him, and he's Yeah, like I think he has a point that you could maybe agree with, and it's not like as clear black and white. So I think you're more inclined to see it as black and white and Grindelwald as a villain, with Mads playing him. But I thought he actually did a pretty good job of being a more like likable character and somebody who you don't just assume is a villain. So I thought, yeah, while I didn't like him as much as Johnny Depp, I did like Mads better in the role than I thought I did. So props to him, for achieving that. But I think that at the end of the day, Grindelwald is, I don't know. I feel like he's an interesting character, but then they do some things with this character in this movie that I think make him less interesting. But I don't really want to talk too specifically about that because I think it starts to get into spoilers. But I think he goes from being like a complicated sort of gray villain to being a very much less complicated and black and white, sort of villain, towards the end of the film. And I think that, as well, just kind of hurts the story, in my opinion, and my enjoyment of it. Kind of going through, but yeah, so I mean, we've only talked about those kind of three main characters, and there's like a whole list of other characters. So I think there's just too many characters in this movie, and such that none of them get the light of day, for us to be able to connect with them. And you'd be like, well, you connect with, like, what about an Avengers film? Well, the Avengers films have like single movies to get connected to the characters, and they're not all just dumped on you in a single film. So I think that's part of the difference. But again, I think, going over some of the other characters and not really getting into spoilers, I thought for Credence, he wasn't all that interesting in this film, especially compared to, I think, the first film, is the film I like him the best in. But yeah, this one, I didn't think he was all that interesting. For some of the other side characters, like, why is Jacob in this film? Like, why does, like, if you stop to think about it, like, I like the character, and he's a lot of fun to see on screen, and get involved with the Wizarding World. But like, why is it that this Muggle keeps getting involved in these like world-threatening situations in the Wizarding World, and it doesn't really make sense. And they give a reason as to why he's in the movie, but I personally wasn't really satisfied with that reason. But I mean, I get that they addressed it, but then there's other ones like Yusuf. They pulled him in from the last movie. I don't really know why why he continued on to be a character in this film. I get why Theseus is in there, kind of like he has more of a connection to Newt, but being his brother. But I don't personally think that Theseus is all that interesting of a character, especially in this film. I thought he was more interesting in the last film when, you kind of had the love triangle between him and Lita and Newt. But with that gone, he's just kind of another character that isn't all that interesting, in my opinion. And then they introduce a new character called, Lally. She's from, America. I forget I think she's a teacher. I forget. I think she's a teacher, though. She could be an Auror, but I'm pretty sure she's a teacher. She was fine. Yeah, nothing. Yeah, but like, it's just another character that isn't done poorly, but is just another character to kind of take us away from the other characters that we maybe care a bit more about. And then Bunty is in here again as like Newt's assistant. I think she's just like a continuous punchline, as far as her having unreciprocated feelings towards, Newt. But and then the last one, which I think, like, we ended up seeing more of him in the movie than I thought we would, and that's Aberforth. But there again, given that he was in more of the movie, I feel like it would have been nice to see a bit more of him. Like, he was in the movie more, but I didn't really get to know him all that much better as a character. So I don't know. I think that gets us through the whole list. Oh, there's Queenie as well. I thought that, yeah, I didn't really care for the direction that they took her character in this movie. Yeah, it didn't feel all that like natural of a progression for her character. Um, so it's, yeah, I liked her a lot better in the previous two movies. So it's, I don't know. I think all the characters they take in a direction that is less interesting or not all that engaging. I did appreciate though that they didn't bring Tina into this film. Maybe that's a spoiler, maybe not. But like generally speaking, she's not a main character in this film. So they, yeah, because like again, same with like why is Jacob involved in all of this? The question would be why is Tina involved in all of this if she's an Or in America and this is not taking place there. So I thought I was glad to see them actually make that decision, not keep pulling back all the main characters because I think story-wise it doesn't make all that much sense. But yeah, so this has been kind of a bit of a ramble, but yeah, that's I don't know. I don't know how better to kind of express my thoughts coming out of the movie. That's kind of it in as best of a nutshell as I can put it. So that kind of wraps up my thoughts in general. I thought overall, like the movie, like I had enough fun. There's definitely several funny parts. There was the people in my auditorium wasn't very full, but the people that were there, I think I could tell they were, fans of Harry Potter and the Wizarding World. And there's definitely several scenes where we were all laughing. So that, it is, I think at the end of the day, a fun movie. But I wouldn't quite go to the point where I'd say it's a good movie. So I think on a letter grade, I'd give it a B, probably on the lower side of B. Mainly just because coming out of it, while it was fun enough, like part of me is just saying meh at this point. I don't know. Yeah, that was another Fantastic Beasts movie, and it's a little disappointing because I wish these movies could be better. I want to like them more than I am, especially for this one. But at the end of the day, yeah, it was fun, and so that's kind of my thoughts. I think it's fun to get back to the Wizarding World, but I think at the end of the day, the story and the characters are a bit underwhelming in this film. So that does it for my review for Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore. If you've been able to see this, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Did you kind of have the same experience as me? As far as being what's your experience with Harry Potter and the Wizarding World? Are you new to the series? Is this maybe the first movie that you've seen of the series? I'd love to hear any of your thoughts down below in the comments. And with that, if you've enjoyed this review, be sure to smash the like button. Thanks for watching. We will catch you in the next review.